Graduates, please come to the lobby of the hangar so we can start lining up. Graduates and anyone in the processional, come to the lobby so we can start lining up.
We are kind of a hidden gem here in Kern County, and our primary mission is to bring people together and expose them to aviation professions. We're a degree-granting institution that caters to studies in aviation. So not only do we have courses and programs for pilots to earn their degrees, we also have courses for aviation mechanics interested in pursuing that profession, back office things and the administrative support functions. The university is really just here to serve that aviation niche, and we're excited to be doing here in Kern County just an aviation mecca with all kinds of stuff that we have to appreciate. There's not enough aviation professionals that are in the aviation industry. We've got a shortage of pilots, we've got a shortage of mechanics, and all of us are used to going on vacation and turning right when we get on a plane, but there's so much that goes into making that occurrence happen. So we want to train people what to do when you take a left on the plane and go to the cockpit. We want to train people what it's all about to be on the ground and supporting in the offices, doing all the administrative work. There's so many opportunities in aviation, and we are experiencing a shortage. Boeing has done a recent study stating that over the next 20 years, we need hundreds of thousands of people to fill these positions. So at California Aeronautical University, these types of exposures just help people see how exciting it is and how important it is to our economy and to people going and traveling around the world. People want to learn more about how to become an aviation professional. Go visit us at calaero.edu. Our website has all types of information. We're happy to share about what we do here at California Aeronautical University or point you in the right direction so that you can find your pathway to become an aviation professional.
I chose to pursue a career in aviation because of the experience that I had as a young child. I grew up in Uganda, and so for the first time, the time that I'd gone to visit at the airport and the time that I visited the airport, I got to experience something that had an impact on me, and that was seeing an aircraft take off and also being part of the experience of being a passenger in the aircraft and trying to understand what exactly makes something that huge take off and the dynamics of how aircrafts work, and that's what inspired me. And from then, I've never looked back, and my only passion has been trying to get into the aviation industry. So CAE has helped me pursue my career in aviation at every single step, from the time that I joined at a university to right now where I'm at. CAE made it suitable for me, that it provided a residential place for me to stay on the airport, which is quite cool. Keeps you in the loop of everything in aviation, being able to stay at the airport and pursue an education at the airport. I don't necessarily necessarily have to drive long distances to come to the airport. So straight from the dormitories to class, and from class to the aircraft, and then back to the dormitory. So that's one of the ways it has helped me.
We are kind of a hidden gem here in Kern County, and our primary mission is to bring people together and expose them to aviation professions. We're a degree-granting institution that caters to studies in aviation. So not only do we have courses and programs for pilots to earn their degrees, we also have courses for aviation mechanics interested in pursuing that profession, back office things and the administrative support functions. The university is really just here to serve that aviation niche, and we're excited to be doing here in Kern County just an aviation mecca with all kinds of stuff that we have to appreciate. There's not enough aviation professionals that are in the aviation industry. We've got a shortage of pilots, we've got a shortage of mechanics, and all of us are used to going on vacation and turning right when we get on a plane, but there's so much that goes into making that occurrence happen. So we want to train people what to do when you take a left on the plane and go to the cockpit. We want to train people what it's all about to be on the ground and supporting in the offices, doing all the administrative work. There's so many opportunities in aviation, and we are experiencing a shortage. Boeing has done a recent study stating that over the next 20 years, we need hundreds of thousands of people to fill these positions. So at California Aeronautical University, these types of exposures just help people see how exciting it is and how important it is to our economy and to people going and traveling around the world. People want to learn more about how to become an aviation professional. Go visit us at calaero.edu. Our website has all types of information. We're happy to share about what we do here at California Aeronautical University or point you in the right direction so that you can find your pathway to become an aviation professional.
I chose to pursue a career in aviation because of the experience that I had as a young child. I grew up in Uganda, and so for the first time, the time that I'd gone to visit at the airport, and the time that I visited the airport, I got to experience something that had an impact on me, and that was seeing an aircraft take off, and also being part of the experience of being a passenger in the aircraft, and trying to understand what exactly makes something that huge take off and the dynamics of how aircrafts work, and that's what inspired me. And from then, I've never looked back, and my only passion has been trying to get into the aviation industry. So C has helped me pursue my career in aviation at every single step, from the time that I joined at a university to right now where I'm at. CU made it suitable for me, that it provided a residential place for me to stay on the airport, which is quite cool. Keeps you in the loop of everything in aviation, being able to stay at the airport and pursue an education at the airport. I don't necessarily have to drive long distances to come to the airport, so straight from the dormitories to class, and from class to the aircraft, and then back to the dormitory. So that's one of the ways it has helped me.
We are kind of a hidden gem here in Kern County, and our primary mission is to bring people together and expose them to aviation professions. We're a degree-granting institution that caters to studies in aviation. So not only do we have courses and programs for pilots to earn their degrees, we also have courses for aviation mechanics interested in pursuing that profession, back office things and the administrative support functions. The university is really just here to serve that aviation niche, and we're excited to be doing here in Kern County just an aviation mecca with all kinds of stuff that we have to appreciate. There's not enough aviation professionals that are in the aviation industry. We've got a shortage of pilots, we've got a shortage of mechanics, and all of us are used to going on vacation and turning right when we get on a plane, but there's so much that goes into making that occurrence happen. So we want to train people what to do when you take a left on the plane and go to the cockpit. We want to train people what it's all about to be on the ground and supporting in the offices, doing all the administrative work. There's so many opportunities in aviation, and we are experiencing a shortage. Boeing has done a recent study stating over the next 20 years, we need hundreds of thousands of people to fill these positions. So at California Aeronautical University, these types of exposures just help people see how exciting it is and how important it is to our economy and to people going and traveling around the world. People want to learn more about how to become an aviation professional. Go visit us at calaero.edu. Our website has all types of information. We're happy to share about what we do here at California Aeronautical University or point you in the right direction so that you can find your pathway to become an aviation professional.
I chose to pursue a career in aviation because of the experience that I had as a young child. I grew up in Uganda, and so for the first time, the time that I'd gone to visit at the airport, and the time that I'd visited the airport, I got to experience something that had an impact on me, and that was seeing an aircraft take off, and also being part of the experience of being a passenger in the aircraft, and trying to understand what exactly makes something that huge take off and the dynamics of how aircrafts work, and that's what inspired me. And from then, I've never looked back, and my only passion has been trying to get into the aviation industry. So CAE has helped me pursue my career in aviation at every single step, from the time that I joined at a university to right now where I'm at. CAE made it suitable for me, that it provided a residential place for me to stay on the airport, which is quite cool. Keeps you in the loop of everything in aviation, being able to stay at the airport and pursue an education at the airport. I don't necessarily have to drive long distances to come to the airport, so straight from the dormitories to class, and from class to the aircraft, and then back to the dormitory. So that's one of the ways it has helped me.
Hello? 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 Good morning. So before we begin, just ask that everyone please silence their phones and give respect to today's ceremony the best you can. See what we can get done before it gets to be over 100 degrees here in Bakersfield. Well, good morning, graduates, parents, friends, faculty, and staff. Welcome to the 4th Annual California Aeronautical University Commencement Ceremony. If you could please stand and join me in welcoming our graduates as they file into their seats. Looks like we had a little seating coordination here. I got to witness it up front. Guess if we don't have checklists, right? Are we good? Everyone's got a seat? Awesome. And if you guys could continue to remain standing for the presentation of the colors by members of the Civil Air Patrol's Bakersfield Composite Squadron 121. If I could ask everyone to remain standing while I call to stage for the singing of our national anthem, Mr. David Alvarez.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. You may be seated. This is where you get to see those extra seats. Well, this next part is done with a heavy heart as we share the passing of our two very own this past year. The university and their friends and families this past year lost two very special and great individuals. Please join me in a moment of silence in remembrance of Jimmy Garcia, who passed December 2nd, 2021, and Don George, who just passed last week, June 6th, 2022. Both will be missed. Thank you. Well, good morning. My name is Matt Johnston. I have the privilege of serving as the president of the university. Today's time together is going to be a special and exciting one, as we have some wonderful and positive moments and messages to deliver to you. Our graduates and other family and friends that are here supporting, we appreciate you being here. Speaking of support, I want to thank the many staff and faculty that offer the support that allows our university to produce these graduates. Can the CAU staff and faculty please stand? And anyone else in the audience, please join me in thanking our many staff and faculty for their support and dedication to each student's success. Thank you. California Aeronautical University has enjoyed great support from the aviation industry, and we're pleased to share some words of congratulations from the aviation community. And we also welcome special guests. We have in the audience Vicki Benzing, the air show performer that we sponsor, and we have a short video from a couple of our supporting community members.
Hello CAU, I'm Brian DiLorenzo, the Manager of Flight Operations Recruiting here at Piedmont, and we're happy to be part of your big day. We certainly wish we could be there in person, and we value the partnership we have with CAU. As you enter the industry, I would tell you to enjoy the journey. We know the sacrifices that you've made along the way, and you should be proud. You should be proud of where you're at today. Take your time, do your research, network, and see what opportunities are out there. As you graduate, we hope you'll give us the opportunity to speak to you about some of the great things here at Piedmont. The most important being the culture. Here at Piedmont, we're proud that we're wholly owned by American Airlines. This affords you some great opportunity. Automatic flow to American Airlines, no second interview. Also gives you a great opportunity to network. The people you work with at Piedmont will be the people you work with someday at American Airlines. The regional training is important. The regional experience is important. You'll have mentorship, which will help you throughout your career. We're here to help you gain experience. That experience is invaluable as you continue your journey. So once again, congratulations on your big day. We hope to talk to you soon and have you join our Piedmont family.
Hello, California Aeronautical University graduates. What an exciting day. My name's Mary Johnson. I'm the president of University Aviation Association. Your hard work, your passion for aviation has shown. Now it's time to take off and start those careers. Good luck. We all wish you the best.
We appreciate the support of our partners and are grateful for the relationships we've built within the aviation community. And now it's with a humble honor that I get to introduce our guest speaker, Captain Charles Plumb. I'm fortunate to hear many great speakers deliver different messages at various conferences and events. I had the opportunity this past year to hear Captain Plumb with hundreds of others at an aviation conference I was attending in Las Vegas. It just so happens that he and I also share a common good friend who is also in the aviation community and with me at that conference. The speaker you are about to hear, I wish I could allow hours, if not days, to speak with all of you. Our speaker today is a graduate of the United States Naval Academy, a former jet fighter pilot, and a combat veteran with 74 successful missions over Vietnam. In addition, as if it couldn't be better timing with the release of a recent movie, he helped start the Top Gun School in Miramar. On his 75th mission, just 5 days before he was scheduled to return home, Captain Plumb was shot down over enemy territory. He ejected from his F-4 Phantom jet, parachuted into enemy hands, was taken prisoner, tortured, and survived nearly 6 years in a communist prison camp. He has returned to share his story of winning through adversity to more than 4,500 audiences in this country and around the world. I had the opportunity to go to dinner with him last night, and have breakfast with him this morning. And you're about to hear a pretty incredible story from an incredible man that is so inspiring. To get a better feel for what this man went through, let's watch this video.
Tower, X-ray, flight at 3, we're 15 to the northeast for landing.
Now 1 Charlie, 7 November, go.
Roger, auto, 20 knots forward.
Rifle, maxi at the mark, elevation 30. 7 November, golf, Roger, repeat, you check your front gun side, I'll check my tank side, 7 November, golf out.
Thank you. The first prison cell I was in Vietnam was 8 feet long and 8 feet wide. A third the size of this stage. I remember distinctly the dimensions of that little cell. I could pace 3 steps in one direction before I ran into a wall. Then I had the opportunity of turning around and pacing 3 steps the other way. Inside my new little home, I had nothing to do. I had no books to read, no window to look out, no TV, telephone. I didn't have a pencil or a piece of paper for 2,103 days. That equates to age 24 to age 30 in my life. Turn your calendar ahead to the year 2028. Consider between today and 2028. The books you read, TV you'll watch, kids you'll raise, pretty good chunk out of a guy's life. Now, I've been a very active guy, like each of you, on the go all the time, searching for an extra 15 minutes a week to call my mom. Suddenly, I had 24 hours a day for the next nearly 6 years. I'm describing this scenario to you somewhat semi-dramatically because I think the most value I can be to the graduating class of 22 and the support group and the administration is to invite you into my little prison cell. You see, there's a great deal to be learned in adversity. So for the next few moments, I'd like for you to try your best to smell the stench of that 2-gallon bucket in the corner I call my toilet. I'd like for you to try to feel the baking heat of a tropical summer in a tin-roof prison cell, 120 degrees, not a breath of air. I'd like for you to try to taste the salt, the annoying taste of salt in the corners of your mouth from the sweat and the tears and the blood. Not that you'll ever be prisoners of war, God forbid. But if I do my job this morning, you'll see where the same challenges you have faced in the last 3 years, the same challenges you will face in the next 20 years, are the very same challenges that I face in that prison cell. And more importantly, your response to the challenge has to be the same recipe of responses I use over there just to survive. And if this is already too great a stretch for you, trying to imagine your life in comparison to my life, there's not a person in this graduating class who hasn't had challenges, fears of inadequacy. Am I really going to measure up? There's not a person here who hasn't had those sleepless nights before the check rides. And a real connection between my life and yours, 6 years without a spring break. And they didn't let me choose my airplane either. So once you get the hang of this, okay, put aside your comfort zone just for a second. Step into a dingy little prison cell a long way from home. When you have that feel, I have a couple of questions. Here's the first one. How do you survive this? What kind of stuff do you have in your gut? What did you bring to the graduation today? What kind of tools do you have you'd pull out and apply to a problem like 6 years in a prison camp? Question number 2. What about the guys next door? What about those American prisoners, those fighter pilots that are clinging to life by their fingernails in their cell? They're in a world of hurt. They need your help, but they don't trust you. They think you have some kind of hidden agenda. How do you get through to them? Well, the first thing you learn in a prison cell is pain. This hurts. Second thing, you might not suspect this. The second thing you learn in a prison cell is, well, the minutes eventually wear into hours, hours into weeks, weeks into months, and you acclimate. You learn how to breathe deeply and think about things far away. Sunny beaches, warm breezes, thoughts of home, and you know what happens? You get used to this. You really do. In fact, you get so comfortable in your 8-foot by 8-foot cell that the last place you want to go is outside the cell because it's dark and lonely out here. At least you know the devil in the light. Here's what happens. You get this restriction built up. And it's not the 8 feet between the walls. It's 8 inches between your ears. You're in a mental box. And this is a mental game. Ever been in one of those mental boxes? We all get there. I'm convinced the mental boxes of our lives can be more restrictive than those walls of stone and steel that I was behind. But it didn't take me very many miles on that dirt floor. I was going nuts, right on the edge. I'm thinking to myself, Charlie, you gotta keep your mind active. Make a little game to play. I thought, that's what I'll do. I'll make a little deck of cards. And I did. I constructed a little deck of playing cards about the size of postage stamps. I tore these cards from 52 little strips of toilet paper. And so what I learned in a prison camp was toilet paper is tough to shuffle. You don't lick your fingers very much shuffling toilet paper. Well, back to you. Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. Congratulations to the parents and friends of these graduates. You have exhibited extreme support, care, trust in this group. Congratulations to the administration of CAU. You have exhibited an extreme amount of wisdom and acumen and attention to the detail of training these individuals. And congratulations to the class of 22. You have survived CAU. Good on you. You've not only survived, but you've thrived. And this day, I think, represents the fact that you have just won the lottery. This aviation career is yours for the taking. You've got everything it needs to fulfill the needs of an aviation which needs pilots and mechanics. It hasn't come easy. But in this height, okay, in this pinnacle of your success, let me ask you this question as you go out into the real world. Do you have your parachute packed? Let me explain that. Several years after I came home from Vietnam, I was in a restaurant in Kansas City where I used to live. About 2 tables over, a guy kept looking at me. I caught his eye, but I didn't recognize this gent. He stood up. The guy walked over to my table, and he pointed his finger in my face with a very stern look on his. He said, "You're Captain Plumb." I looked up and I said, "Yes, sir, I'm Captain Plumb." "You're that guy. You flew jet fighters in Vietnam, fighter pilot, part of the Top Gun outfit, shot down, parachuted in enemy hands. You spent 6 years as a prisoner of war." Somewhat dumbfounded, I looked up at this guy and I said, "How in the world did you know all that?" He finally broke into a smile and he said, "Because I packed your parachute." Tell you this, for this guy that runs around the country making speeches, suddenly I was speechless. Best I could do was stagger to my feet, reach out a very grateful hand of thanks. He came up with just the proper words. The guy grabbed my hand, he pumped my arm, and he said, "I guess it worked." I said, "Yes, sir, indeed I did." And I must tell you, I've said a lot of prayers of thanks for your nimble fingers, but I had no idea I'd ever have the opportunity of expressing my gratitude in person. He said, "Were all the panels there?" I said, "No, they weren't. I've got to be honest with you. Of the 18 panels I was supposed to have in that parachute, I had only 15 good ones. 3 of the panels were torn. But it wasn't your fault. It was mine. I ejected from that F-4 Phantom jet at 600 knots close to the ground. I was well outside the envelope of that parachute. You did your job. I didn't do mine." I said, "But let me ask you a question. Do you keep track of all the parachutes you pack? Do you know of all the lives you've saved?" The guy said, "No, this is the most important part of the conversation. Maybe the most important thing I said this morning." Here's what he said. He said, "No, I don't keep track of all the parachutes I pack. It's enough gratification for me just to know that I've served." I didn't get much sleep that night. I kept trying to put the face I seen in the restaurant in a Navy uniform. How many times I might have passed him in the passageway of that ship or seen him on Liberty Call and didn't say, "How are you? Thanks," because after all, I was a fighter pilot and he was just a sailor. And he said to me that night, he said, "You know, I'm not the only one that packed your parachute. Oh yes, I did the physical job to give you a safe descent, you know, when you ejected from that airplane, but the real key to your survival have been the people in your life who have given you the nuggets it was going to take to overcome. Your parents and your teachers and your coaches and your pals, those are the ones that really packed your parachute. So I got to thinking back to how my parachute was packed when I was shot down over enemy territory. First of all, my mom and dad. I grew up in a tiny town in Kansas. Mom, dad, big sister, two little brothers. We were really poor people, but he got my parachute packed. The unity and love that we had in that family was vital in my survival. In that little grade school, we had a basketball team and lost and lost and lost. The last game of the season, we lost again. One dejected 13-year-old lad wandering off from the locker room. Here comes the coach. I felt his arm over my sweaty shoulder. All I could think of to say was, I'm sorry, coach, I guess this team's just a bunch of losers. The coach squeezed my shoulder. He sunk his fingernails into the flesh. He said, son, whether you think you're a loser or whether you think you're a winner, you're right. I didn't understand that. I asked him the next day at school, Coach, what did that mean? He said, life is a choice. Every day of your life is a beautiful choice. I don't care where you go, he said. I don't care what kind of a scrape you get yourself into someday. He said, you can choose. You can choose a smile or a frown every day. You can choose happiness or sadness every day. You can choose profit or loss every day. You can choose health and you can choose life or death. He said, there's one more choice. When the going is tough and the margins are thin and the competition is high and everybody's on your case and you're all out of ideas, you can always choose to give away all those other choices. You can elect to step back and become the victim, or you can step forward and become the victor. It's your fault. It's your choice. So with that inspiration, I graduated from that little grade school, top of my class of 2. Got an appointment to the Naval Academy. At age 17, I got on the Greyhound bus. 2 days later, I was pledging to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and Mexican. I know we've got some veterans in this crowd. Wave your hand if you're a veteran. We appreciate you. But at the Naval Academy, again, I learned the good stuff. I graduated with an engineering degree, but I also got my parachute packed. Don't miss the metaphor. Parachute packing comes without any trade, no response. Parachute packing is serving without asking anything in return. It's a gift. See, it's not, I'm going to do this for you if you'll do that for me. That's not it. So the parachute packers at Annapolis, of course, were other midshipmen, and our superintendent, Admiral Charles Kirkpatrick, would stand up in front of the big pep rallies before the football games. He would clench his fist. You could see the veins running his brow. He would say, you guys can do anything you set your minds to do. And we did. And with that inspiration and motivation, I graduated from Annapolis. From that school, I didn't graduate top of my class. In fact, from the Naval Academy, I graduated in the half of the class that made the top half possible. A dirty job. Somebody had to do it. Threw that hat in the air, pin on those ensign bars, married my high school sweetheart, lovely blonde girl from Kansas. Under the Arch of Swords, it was a military wedding. Flight training, out to San Diego, where I flew the first adversarial flights for the Top Gun school. They assigned me to the F-4 Phantom jet, the high-altitude supersonic interceptor, Mach 2 airplane. Exciting times. Launched on the aircraft carrier Kitty Hawk. I stood on the flight deck at Pier 3 at North Island and picked my wife out of the crowd, and I waved to her, and I promised her I'd be back in 8 months. Almost made it. Almost made it. It was 5 days before the end of my tour in Vietnam. 74 successful missions, over 100 carrier landings, pretty well seasoned jet fighter pilot, and 5 days to go. The mission was just south of Hanoi, the capital city, a military target. Just short of the target, my co-pilot and I were hit by a surface-to-air missile. It exploded to some 12,000 pounds of jet fuel and sent that bird topsy-turvy, end over end, down towards the rice paddy below. I ejected, my co-pilot ejected, our parachutes opened, and we came floating down over enemy territory. Ever been in one of those parachutes? I don't mean the nylon ones, I'm talking about the parachutes of life. You see, that's what this discussion is all about. How do you handle those challenges? I'm talking about something that's insignificant as being cut out of your lane on 99, something that's major as the loss of a child. But isn't that your value? Isn't that where it lies? See, anybody can answer the phone, notice that? Anybody can log on. Your true value has to be measured when the heat's on, when things are tough. So there it was, hanging in a parachute. I looked up, counted the panels, looked down at the unknown. They're shooting at me. The audacity of this. They just knocked down my multi-gazillion-dollar jet fighter, and now they're shooting at the pilot. And I'll tell you this. When you're dodging bullets, it's tough to come up with a long-range plan. So how do you handle it? I don't know. I'll tell you how I handled it. I took a deep breath, let about half of it out, bowed my head, and I said a prayer. Asked for a little extra strength that day from above. Then I prayed for my wife. Remember the lady I had married under the Arch of Swords? See, this was my war, not hers. And yet, at the end of the Vietnam War, she would feel more pain from that war than I did. Hit the ground, sunk about waist deep in a rice paddy, hauled into the prison camp, tortured for 2 days for military information and political propaganda. And after 2 days of the torture, they tossed me into the little cell. The one I described to you from the very beginning wasn't kidding you an inch. That beauty was 8 by 8. Let me tell you about my physical state those first few months in that prison camp. I was bleeding from 4 open wounds, had no medical care. I was down to about 115, 120 pounds, getting real skinny, surviving on 2 bowls of rice a day and sometimes some broth. Developed these boils. We never really knew why, but we got these big old carbuncle boils all over our bodies just because of the heat. And so I was rotting away in this communist prison camp, okay? My physical state. And that was the good news. The bad news was my mental state. I'd given up. I had surrendered. Fighter pilots are not supposed to surrender. That's not in our playbook. In the military, if you're captured, you're supposed to give only name, rank, serial number, date of birth. And I flew the skies of Vietnam thinking I'm tough enough. I will never give anything more than name, rank, serial number, date of birth. And I was wrong. The pain was too great. And I felt very guilty about that. You know, I mean, how can I ever go back to my country, my fellow fighter pilots, my family, admit to them that I had failed in my mission so miserably? So it was with that mindset of guilt and humiliation and depression, I heard in the far corner the chirping noise of a cricket. I walked over to the corner of my prison cell and found no cricket, but a little piece of wire about that long poked through a hole at the base of the cell wall, scratching on my concrete floor, making that chirping noise like a cricket. Are you with me? Can you imagine what might be going through your mind, especially with this mindset? I'm watching the little wire and I'm thinking to myself, it's got to be another American. The enemy is not sophisticated enough to try to trick me. If it's another American, it also has to be another fighter pilot like me, since that's who's in these prison camps. And boy, would I like to talk to another fighter pilot. We could really tell some stories. But I'll bet that guy's tougher than I am. He's probably smarter. He's probably older. He's probably more mature. He's probably a better pilot. And he didn't cry for mercy when they tortured him like I did. I'm losing interest. You ever have those feelings, you know? You're up against somebody you think may be better than you are, or maybe you failed in your task and you're afraid to even admit that. That's the way I felt. So I'll just crawl over here in the corner and try to ignore communicating with any other American because I don't want to expose what I what I've been through. And then the wire kept scratching. I finally reached over and grabbed the wire and I tugged. It tugged back. The wire came back a little bit later with a note wrapped around the end of it. The note was written on a dirty piece of toilet paper, just blobs. And it said, memorize this code, then eat this note. I did it. I memorized the code. I ate the note and started to communicate in this very cumbersome code with the guy in 2 cells over. He said, you will find you've just joined the finest team you'll ever play on, the prisoners of war in this camp. You will see in this camp the finest leadership you will ever see, bar none, are American leaders, the officers in the Navy and the Marine Corps and the Air Force that are in this prison camp have stepped up to the plate. They can't see us, they can't talk to us, they can't communicate with us except in this very, very cumbersome code. But they have turned this whole thing around. We are not on the defensive. We are still warriors, and we will pursue this war till our last dying breath. So pull up your big boy pants. We've got a war to fight. Wow, did that turn things around. It was really amazing how well we've all survived from that experience because of the leadership that we had in that prison camp. In fact, a study was done a few years ago. All the combatants in Vietnam, 30.6% have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. A third of combatants in Vietnam, of the prisoners of war, 4% of us have PTSD, and it's primarily the guys shot down at the end of the war and weren't prisoners more than a few weeks or a month or two. Figure that out. But it worked. So we had a lot of good leadership in that prison camp, and it always wasn't always the guys with the high ranks, okay? In fact, maybe the best leader of all, the best parachute packer, if you will, was a Navy sailor, an enlisted guy. We were all officers. We were all college graduates. Who shows up? A Navy sailor. How did a sailor get into a prison camp in an air war over North Vietnam? Well, he fell off his ship. He used to tell us, I wasn't captured like you pilots. I was rescued. And indeed he was. 19 years old, Seaman Douglas Hegdal. On the fantail of the cruiser Canberra, he fell off. Could he take a joke? We would tug on our wires and tap on our walls in this secret code, pass around a little questionnaire. Who's the oldest guy in the camp? Who's got the most kids back home? Who's been here the longest? One time we had what we called the high-fast, low-slow contest to try to determine what fighter pilot had jumped out of his jet going highest and fastest, who jumped out going lowest and slowest. Well, high-fast contest was won by some Air Force jock who punched out of his F-105 at 52,000 feet, 1,000 miles an hour. And the low-slow contest was won by the Navy sailor. 12 feet at 15 knots, right there. Oh, but here's the interesting part, and why I take your valuable time to tell you his story. This insignificant entry-level minimum wage, new hire, part-timer, you know, the people that we can rub elbows with, but usually they're more trouble than they're worth. The sailor didn't suffer from this 8-inch box. He didn't have a bad case, okay, of this prison mentality where he blamed everybody else for his problem and felt sorry for himself and never accepted any accountability. What did he do? He started memorizing names. He put our names into songs. 254 men in that camp. Then he memorized our social security number or identifier, 254 long numbers he's putting in his brain. Went back through the list, memorized our hometowns all across the country, our next of kin, and finally, I'm not kidding you, Seaman Douglas Hegdal memorized the telephone numbers of each of the relatives of each of the prisoners. That took 2 years. About that time, things were improving. The enemy's going to send some guys home early before the end of the war as proof of their good treatment. Our senior man sent a message to the sailor, son, I want you to volunteer to go home first. The sailor sent back, sir, with all due respect, I would rather stay here with the team. I want to march home with you guys. I want to be part of the solution. Our senior man said, it's not an option. Here's a direct order, shove off. The sailor said, aye, aye, sir. Home he came. Now, imagine, he's 21 years old now, okay? Imagine, and he's been in prison for 2 years by accident, starved, humiliated, lonely, tortured. What can you expect of this guy? Oh, but he was a parachute packer. He went from west coast to east, north to south. He went through each one of the hometowns he'd memorized. He dialed each one of those telephone numbers he'd memorized. He spoke to each one of the wives he'd memorized and told her that her husband was alive. Are you internalizing this point of mine, this parachute packing thing? Does that make sense? See, I think that as you graduate from here, you're going to have challenges. There's no question about that. It's not going to be easy for you. You're not built that way. But if you got your parachute packed by the instructors, the teachers, the administration, your parents, your family, each other, if you have that kind of support group and apply the very basics, you can survive about anything. The war finally ended. We traded prisoners, 10,000 of the bad guys for 591 of us. Got on a big old C-141, and 90 minutes later, I was putting these feet on free soil, Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines. Ran down the ladder and across the tarmac to the first telephone I could find to call. You would have too. But she had gone. I called my parents back in Kansas. What has happened to my wife? Mom said she hung on for 5 years, then just 3 months ago, she filed for divorce. She's engaged to another guy. Wow, another gut punch in my life? Just when I think I've overcome one problem, now I got another one. And I laid in that hospital bed in Great Lakes Naval Hospital in Chicago, thinking to myself, didn't learn much in that little 8-foot by 8-foot University of Hanoi. But if I learned one thing, it is that, hey, within this opportunity, this tragedy is an opportunity. And adversity is a horrible thing to waste. So if I can, pick myself back up and put myself back out there, take advantage of these things, surely this is going to work. And it did for me and for the other guys. Of 591 men, we have produced 17 generals and 7 admirals in the military. Most of us retired as senior grade military officers. They thought we'd be in baskets when we came home. They had our families briefed to institutionalize us for the rest of our lives. We've got 2 United States senators, 2 ambassadors from our number, a vice presidential candidate, a presidential candidate. No group this size in history ever done this. And after what we had been through. So I hope that validates my point, okay? That if you can keep your parachute packed, if you can really keep the baseline, because far more than the knowledge you've acquired here at ACU, far more than the knowledge you're going to acquire in the future, those baseline facts, the stuff that you learned when you were 3 or 4 years old in the sandbox can be more important in your overcoming adversity and even thrive through it. So I congratulate each of you. The job you've done. Well, let me tell you a little bit about what happened. The guy on the end of the wire, 2-star admiral today, Bob Shoemaker. My backseater came back to the States, went back to flying Navy jets off aircraft carriers. Some guys never learn. No, that's not fair. I continue to fly for the Navy, and I have a little Long Easy now and a PT-19 Fairchild that I terrorize as Christ. So it gets in your blood, doesn't it? My ex-wife married the guy she was engaged to. They're living happily ever after, and I married a wonderful guy, and we have 4 kids and 4 grandkids. Have a very, very happy life. Ran a marathon a few years ago in Alaska. It's called the Midnight Sun Run. It's the Saturday closest to the longest day of the year. I chose that marathon because I figure I might need 24 hours of daylight to run 26 miles. Took 2 of my kids, 3 of my 4 kids up there. Night before the race, I talked to my kids. Hey kids, this is your dad's craziness. I don't even know where this race is. Don't worry, I'll find it. You guys take it easy, sleep in, have a leisurely breakfast, and I'll be back tomorrow afternoon. Oh, it was a long race. And I was sweating like crazy along that race. And I'm thinking the most beautiful sight in the world is going to be the finish sign, but it wasn't. Under the finish sign, here are my kids cheering me on. I went to them and I said, how in the world did you find the finish line? said, well, Dad, we shared a cab with a couple of guys from the hotel. They knew where it was. I said, how did they know where it was? Well, Dad, they ran the race. They came back to the hotel. They had breakfast. They showered. They swam a few laps, and we came back to see you finish. What's the message? Graduating class of 22, you'll never be prisoners of war. I hope and pray that you never face those 8-foot boxes, but you will face the 8-inchers. And yet you have the opportunity within every adversity in life. I'm convinced there's a wonderful opportunity if, in fact, you can tug on the wires, pack the parachutes, and keep yours packed, apply the very basics of life, and you can do anything you set your mind to do. Great being with you. Good luck. God bless. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Plumb. What a remarkable message about your parachute. The life you've led and the experiences that you've had make us pause to appreciate the privileges and opportunities available to all of us today. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Michael Berry, who will proceed with some of our awarding of recognitions to our graduates.
I'd also like to thank you, Captain Plumb, for your words. And these packed parachutes are taken off all over the country after today, and so your part of investing in their lives is very important. Thank you. Well, good morning. I'm Dr. Mike Berry, and I'm the provost at California Aeronautical University. And provost is just I work with academics. So I've had a chance to work with a lot of these students as we have made this journey, 3 or 4 years, whichever the case may be. But I'd like to take just a moment to congratulate and thank all of the parents and the support networks, as we've said before, who have helped nurture, encourage, kick forward, pull back, whatever you needed to do to get your son or daughter to this stage today. And so it's very, very helpful. And so maybe the graduates can give them a round of applause. All right. So as provost, I have the opportunity to recognize many individuals who've earned honors or distinctions while they're here at California Aeronautical University. And so some of them have been active, really active in the classroom. Others have been really active in the flight portion, but the two come together for our graduates at the end. I would like to take a moment and recognize the individual that is the outstanding student for the graduating class of 2022. He's excelled in both. He also was an individual that was involved in our NIFA flight team. In fact, I believe he came back today for graduation because he's already reported to the airline. Michael Pateev. So I'd like to move into a section where we have distinguished academic recognition of a variety of different classifications. First of all, it's high honors. Recognizing these graduates who have demonstrated the highest levels of academic excellence. While we are proud of all the graduates that you'll see today and the graduates from other classes, we want to especially recognize the students who have demonstrated impressive dedication and achievement while attending school and managing their life. The graduates receiving high honors today have graduated with a cumulative GPA 4.0 and are ordained with a gold stole. As I call out your names, please stand and remain standing until you are recognized. Nicholas Costigan. Michael Pateyev. And Devin Rodriguez. Congratulations. You may be seated. The next distinguished academic recognition is for the Dean's List. The graduates on the Dean's List have maintained a 3.5 to a 3.99 GPA throughout their program. The graduates who have earned this honor can be recognized by the silver cords they're wearing. As I call out your name, please stand and remain standing till I recognize everyone. Mark Alejandres. Mahmoud Badrani. Mark Carrier. Carrie Sertucci. Angela Duran Hernandez. Dennis Firestone. Jacqueline Garcia. Grant Illman. Carly Morgan. Noah Nadi. Joseph Ono. Richard Precop. And Douglas Uter. Congratulations. You may be seated. We're fortunate in the aviation field to have some honor societies, and the first is the Alpha Beta Kappa. And we have many graduates who've joined this fraternity in the past. But as a member of the Alpha Beta Kappa, each graduate must have achieved a cumulative GPA of 3.5 or higher. Each graduate has been presented with a certificate and a gold pin, which should be worn with pride as it signifies integrity and excellence. Graduates who will be receiving this honor are adorned with red and blue cords. At this time, I'd like to ask the following students to please stand while we give them a round of applause and allow each of them to be recognized. Mahmoud Badrani. Carrie Sartucci. Carly Morgan. Michael Pateyev. Richard Precop. Devin Rodriguez. And Douglas Uter. Congratulations, good job. You may be seated. We also have Alpha Eta Rho, and graduates have earned that distinction and participation. Alpha Eta Rho is a professional collegiate aviation fraternity founded in 1929 to bring together students who have a common interest in the field of aviation. Membership is open to all collegiate men and women who have a strong interest in any of the aviation careers and the aerospace industry. Alpha Eta Rho is the oldest aviation organization on colleges and university campuses today. At this time, I'd like to ask the following students to please stand and remain standing for a round of applause when all of those have been honored. First, Jack Branger. Ryan Janetsky. Chelsea Lozano. D'Angela Mendoza. Courtney Rose Papillon. Michael Pateyev. And Camille Wilkins. Thank you for your participation. You may be seated. Especially suiting today is after Captain Plumb spoke, and we'd like to take a moment to recognize our veterans who are populated throughout the group from all of the services that are represented. These individuals can be recognized by blue stoles. At this time, I'd like to ask any of those students, faculty, staff, and our guests who have served in the military to please stand while we give them a round of applause and thank them for their service to our country. Please stand. Thank you very much. You may be seated. I told you I'd have a chance to read a lot of names and recognize a lot of people. Now I have the opportunity to bring up our speaker from the graduating class of 2022. Our student speaker is someone who has always been the type to set a positive example for others. He has consistently gone above and beyond in taking the initiative to engage in academic and career-driven activities, both on and off the campus. A good student and a role model, we are proud to introduce Devin J. Rodriguez.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the class of 2022, I want to welcome family, friends, staff, faculty, and alumni. My name is Devin Rodriguez, and I am the student speaker for this year's graduation, and it is such an honor. Thank you for all being here to celebrate your graduates today. Class of 2022, we did it. Years of hard work have led us all to this very moment. It's time to celebrate your achievements, your licenses, and your degrees. Be proud of yourself, for you have accomplished something that less than 1% of the US population has done in becoming an aviation professional. I got into aviation in 2006 on my first flight to Portugal with family. On board, I got a glimpse into the flight deck, and that opened up a world of aviation to me. From that very moment, I knew I wanted to be sitting in that seat where the pilot sat, on board that 777. And at that moment, they sparked a dream. And many of us are following a dream that sparked many years ago. A dream to do something big, to fly above the surface, to travel the world and experience other cultures, and open our minds to new ideas, furthering our education and understanding of the world. Because when we open our minds to new ideas, we begin to achieve a higher level of acceptance, bringing to the forefront the idea that you and a child somewhere in a distant land are not all that different, that you have the same composition regardless of background. We all have that spark in us, ignited by our passions, that drives us to pursue our dreams, to push the limits of our very being. All of our lives we've been told our sky's the limit, and I'm here to tell you that that is not true. The only limit to your dreams is your drive to achieve them, as well as your willingness to work for them. The future is bright for the graduating class of 2022, and it hasn't always appeared that way. There have been trying times where the work to achieve a milestone seemed never ending. And a global pandemic has rocked our industry and affecting all of our lives, leading us to question the very path that has led us here. But you have all kept that dream alive. You weathered out the storms of reality and kept soaring. You remembered the fact that you took to the sky for the first time on your solo, that feeling of absolute solace. I often feel as if my solo was just yesterday. It's truly an event that you'll never forget. One thing that you remember is, oh my God, I'm by myself flying an airplane. And two, I'm flying an airplane by myself without my instructor next to me. And this is a little off script. I will say that I was more nervous now and here doing this than on my first solo. And in that moment of first solo, I've never felt my mortality more than in that moment. But wow, it was amazing. But when times got tough and through any doubt, you all remembered. You kept your dreams alive and kept pushing. Class of 2022, what I wish for you is to continue to forge your dreams into reality. But most of all, I challenge you. I challenge you to inspire them. Not just inspire, but become a beacon to guide those junior up a path that may seem uncertain and clouded at first. Even when times are rough, maintain that positive attitude. To quote one of my favorite books, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times, if one only remembers to turn on the light. Be that light. Be the change you seek. Make a difference in the lives of those around you and inspire them. Inspire them to push themselves even more than you push yourself. Because when you encourage others to improve themselves, we create a more open-minded society. We help forge the change we seek. So keep your mind open and share that with the world. You may never know how a simple gesture, such as showing the kid a flight deck, will set him or her on a trajectory to change their lives and sit in the very seat that you will one day sit. And now, before I go, there's a little cliche that comes with being a pilot, that we can't walk into a room without telling somebody we are one. So, I'm a pilot. Class of 2022, I've had an amazing 3 years. I can't wait to see all you accomplish. Good luck, and congratulations.
That's a great line, Devin. How many pilots do we have in the room? We have some pilots here? All right, we've got them spread throughout the crowd, so that's fantastic. All right, now we're getting to the action, the thing that most people came for, where they can actually get their degrees and all those types of things. But first, we have a special honor. We have a Master of Aviation Science student graduating, and they call those a hooding ceremony. So I'd like to give you just a little bit of a detail what a hooding ceremony is, so that you know that. The tradition for academic dress and regalia that we see today entered into the United States out of a little college called King's College, which now is Columbia University. But in the 1880s, universities and colleges around the country were starting to come up with their own colors, with their own hats, with their own stoles. All these different things were going on. And so they started wearing these to graduation, but someone said, wait a minute, we've got to standardize, just like a pilot. Let's standardize and figure out how we're doing this. So an academic code was developed, and with some minor changes since 1959, that code remains in force today. The attire, the colors, the trimmings, and the patterns you see are all traditional and reflect both the degree and the field of learning. The colorful hood is reserved for those individuals who have attained a professional degree, a step above a bachelor degree, one that specializes in a particular field of study, in this case, a master's in aviation science. It's a special part of the academic regalia that denotes scholarly and professional achievements and preparation. Please notice, as you'll see when I hood this young man, that the hood is lined with official colors of California Aeronautical University, red and blue, with the red forming a chevron pattern over the blue. The hood is edged and bound with gold velvet representing the sciences. So would you welcome at this time for the hooding for the Master of Science, Fabian Ortiz.
At this time, California Aeronautical University would like to confer the following degrees. Will the graduating class of 2022 please stand and come to the stage as we call your name? Aviation Maintenance Technology, Carrie Certucci. Prince Lawrence D. Juarez. Joseph Ono. Associate of Science, Aviation Studies, Carson Beckett. Bachelor of Science in Aeronautics, Mark Alejandres. Josue Azcarate. Mahmoud Badrani. Jack Branger. Christopher Carlisle. Mark D. Carrier. Jaden T. Castro. Nicholas C. Costigan. Jose Feliciano. Dennis Firestone. T.G. Mac Maala Galario. Ronald S. Gochez. Grant W. Illman. Ryan E. Janetsky. Tyler Langenberg. Chelsea D. Lozano. Mario J. Martinez Escobar. Joshua C. Maxwell. D'Angelo R. Mendoza. Courtney Rose E. Papillon. Armando Perez III. Michael Patev. Blaze M. Pock. Richard Tolbert Prekop. Kyle Razone. Cole T. Rodriguez. Devin J. Rodriguez. Jonathan M. Romo. Blake Smith. Douglas Uter. Camille A. Wilkin. Hang Yi. Bachelor of Science, Aviation Business Administration, Angela Duran Hernandez. Jacqueline Garcia. Carly A. Morgan. Noah Nadi.
Well, through today, we've heard some inspiring words from Captain Plumb and Devin. Thank you for your message today. That's fantastic. I hope we take those with us wherever we go and we don't get locked in that little box. Parachutes are packed. We're about ready to give you the actual taxi orders to move on. These testimonials, I think, will live with us for the rest of our lives, and I hope they do. So without further delay, the moment we've all been waiting for. So will the graduates of the California Aeronautical University class of 2022 please stand? With the authority given to me by the Accrediting Council for Independent Colleges and Schools and the State of California, I would like you to now move your tassels from the right to the left. Your degrees have now been confirmed.
All right. We endured the heat, amongst other things, for the last 3 years together, and it's over. Well, it's actually just the beginning. And we thank you very much for your time here today, and there's a lot of bright future ahead for everyone. So if everyone could please stand and continue to celebrate these graduates as we see them out. Congratulations, class of 2022. Celebrate these graduates. Thank you again.